Hello and welcome to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Giancarlo Matera, reporting from London. We'll be bringing you news reports from around the United Kingdom and Europe. And we have live reporters with us today on standby, ready to give their reports. In our lineup today, the EU and UK narrow gap on the post-Brexit trade, but no deal yet. UK vaccinates 137,000 in the first week since the vaccine rollout. And vaccinations to start on December 27 across the rest of the European Union. And now we go to our live reporters who are on standby. First up, we have Love and Season. Thank you for joining us again, Love Ann. Can you tell us what you'll be reporting for us today?
Yes, thank you, and hello to our viewers. So today I will be reporting about how the top UK court was able to lift the ban on Heathrow's third runway. So Heathrow, as we know, is one of the busiest airports in the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Lavan. We look forward to that story later. Also joining us live today is Ashley Espiritu. Nice to see you, Ashley. What you will be reporting for us today?
Thank you, Giancarlo, for having me today. I will be reporting on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's new deal with Spotify to produce their very own podcast called Archwell Audio.
Thank you so much. Also joining us from Europe, we have Febeline Kalpo. Thank you for joining us, Febeline. What will you be reporting for us this week?
Hello, Giancarlo. I'll be reporting on President Macron, who just tested positive for COVID-19.
Thank you so much. And our final live reporter today is Meghan Glauser, who has another story for us. What are you reporting for us, Meghan?
Hi, Giancarlo. Thank you for having me. So I will be reporting on a saber-toothed tiger skeleton that was sold at auction in Geneva.
A very interesting story. Thank you so much. We will also end today's show once again with our view from our window. And this week is from Maastricht in the Netherlands. So we look forward to that at the end of the show. But first, we go to our news headlines. The European Union negotiator Michel Barnier said on Thursday that talks with Britain on a post-Brexit trade deal were progressing, but there had been no breakthrough. Good progress has been made, but the last stumbling blocks remain. We will only sign a deal protecting the European Union interests and principles, he tweeted after the meeting with the members of the European Parliament. After briefing the heads of the European Parliament groups, Barnier was due to sit down once again with his British counterpart David Frost to press on with talks. But time is running short to find a trade pact. Britain will leave the European Union single market in just 2 weeks, after an 11-month post-Brexit transition. If there is no follow-on trade agreement, tariffs will be imposed on cross-channel commerce, fueling the economic disruption caused by London's departure. Any trade deal reached by Barnier and Frost will also have to be approved by the EU and the UK parliaments, and special sessions may have to be held over the end-of-year holidays. The British Parliament is to go into recess on Thursday, but a UK government spokesman said it could be recalled within 48 hours in order to endorse any deal. But members of the European Parliament in Brussels are concerned that they are running out of time to scrutinize the agreement. The trade talks have stumbled over how to ensure fair competition between the EU and the UK businesses once London is free to diverge over time from Brussels regulations. And there is a dispute over fishing, a tiny part of the economy, but a huge issue for some member states, and which the EU has linked to the broader trade deal. Johnson insists that Britain and the UK leaves the EU single market at the end of the year. It will have full control over access to its own waters. More than 137,000 people in Britain have received the first dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vaccine this week. When the inoculations began, the government announced on Wednesday that the Department of Health and Social Care said that 137,897 people had received the jab since December 8th. Of those, 108,000 were in England, the most populous of the UK's 4 nations. Prime Minister Boris Johnson told lawmakers he was very pleased with the good start of the rollout of the vaccination. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was the first coronavirus shot to be authorized for use by the UK's independent medicines regulator. Patients require 2 doses over 21 days apart. Britain has ordered 40 million doses of the jab, enough to vaccinate 20 million people, with 800,000 in the first batch. First in line are the people aged 80 and above, and frontline health and social care workers. The vaccination program was this week expanded to doctor surgeries in England and in care homes in Scotland. The bulk of Britain's vaccine requirements are expected to be met by a jab developed by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford, which is awaiting regulatory approval. Some 100 million doses have been ordered. The government has also ordered 7 million of the vaccine developed by Moderna. Britain has been one of the worst hit countries in Europe by the virus, with nearly 65,000 deaths from some 1.9 million cases. On Wednesday, London and the surrounding areas were placed under stricter measures to curb the spread of the virus because of concerns about a rise in cases. In a sign of unity, the EU's 27 member countries aim to start their COVID vaccination vaccines on the same day. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen said on Wednesday that to get to the end of the pandemic, they need to have at least 70% of the population vaccinated. So she urged the member states to start as soon as possible with the vaccination altogether as 27, with a start on the same day. The medicine from the European Agency has a meeting set on Monday to discuss the conditional approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. The EU has secured contracts with 6 potential vaccine candidates. They say there will be more than enough doses for everyone in the region. Von der Leyen also added that within a week, the first vaccine will be authorized so that vaccinations can start immediately, and more will follow in the new year. News on the start of the vaccinations comes as Europe suffers a particularly strong second wave of the pandemic. Several countries are adding restrictions, especially due to the upcoming year-end celebrations. Germany went back to partial lockdown this week. On Thursday, they reported 30,000 new cases. France just lifted some of its health measures, but imposed a new curfew nationwide. The country saw more than 18,000 new infections on Thursday. Denmark will also be going into lockdown following a surge in cases. It's time for a break now, but please come back for more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Buwis buhay, nakakaba talaga.
Nabuhay ang aking dugo. Dito sa tagisan ng galing, paangat ng paangat ang level ng mga contestant.
Panibagong set ng mga bagong dancers ang maglalaban-laban para sa huling spot ngayong December monthly finals. Check this out. Yeah. I want to wake up. Little mama, show me how you move it.
Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. Now for some more interesting stories from around the United Kingdom this week. First, our live correspondent joining us is Love Anne Season, who has more details for us on the Heathrow's proposed third runway. Hello again, Love Anne.
Hi, Giancarlo, and thank you. So Britain's Supreme Court on Wednesday ruled that Heathrow, one of the world's busiest airports, can build a third runway, overturning a legal decision to block the plan on environmental grounds as the aviation industry looks to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. The nation's highest court struck down a Court of Appeal ruling in February that the UK government had failed to take into account climate change commitments when in 2018 it approved the new runway at the London airport. Heathrow successfully argued that the Court of Appeal had made errors of law. Following the latest ruling, Friends of the Earth insisted that the ruling was not a green light, saying that the judgment still required Heathrow to address climate concerns. Now, Greenpeace urged Prime Minister Boris Johnson to scrap the project in light of the government's targets on cutting carbon emissions. 5 years ago, Johnson infamously vowed to lie down in front of the bulldozers to stop the runway being built. It was his predecessor, Theresa May, who in 2018 approved the third runway, while Johnson has ignored his bulldozer pledge as he trumpets big infrastructure projects to help drive Britain's post-Brexit economy. Now, the Supreme Court said that while the UK government said that the building work could begin in 2020, Heathrow warned that it would delay the construction by at least 2 years, owing to the legal challenges and the coronavirus upheaval. So back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Lavan. Could you tell us what has been the reaction of the public on the Supreme Court's ruling to give the go-ahead for Heathrow's third runway?
Yes, so Giancarlo, first of all, Heathrow Airport, of course, hailed the ruling. So expanding the UK's hub airport means that they can connect all of Britain to all of the growing markets in the world. It also means that more jobs for every nation and for every region in the country. Now, the demand for air travel will recover from COVID-19, and it will allow Britain to compete trade with rivals France and Germany. Now, on the other hand, Friends of the Earth are disappointed with the outcome, of course. For them, it's like betraying the future of the next generation. It will be putting more planes in the sky, and it will only increase emissions that, as we know, will destroy the planet. So this is definitely not the last that we will hear about this, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Lavan. But what also are the commitments that the UK itself is making to address these climate concerns?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Giancarlo, since the runway was approved in 2018, there has been a commitment from the UK to net zero emissions by 2050. And early this month, it also pledged to cut carbon emissions by 68% by 2030. So we all know that this climate crisis is just getting worse. Now, next November, UK will be hosting an important UN climate summit. So you can imagine all eyes will be focused on the UK and what they will be doing next. Giancarlo?
Thank you, Lavan, for bringing us that interesting story. We hope to hear from you again next week.
Thank you. And reporting from London, United Kingdom, I'm Love and Season, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, next, joining us now to talk about the latest on Harry and Meghan is Ashley Spiritu. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, Giancarlo. Thank you. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have signed a deal with Spotify to produce podcasts that tell uplifting and entertaining stories, the audio streaming service said Tuesday. Since ceasing royal duties and moving to California this year, the couple have launched various creative ventures and begun legal actions against British tabloids over privacy violations. They signed a deal with streaming giant Netflix in September to produce impactful films and series, while Markle, a former television actress, narrated a wildlife documentary on Disney+. Shares in Spotify, which has 144 million subscribers, jumped 2% on Tuesday morning after the news broke. It has previously signed celebrity podcasters including Barack and Michelle Obama and Kim Kardashian West. The company did not say how much the deal would be with the royals. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex said in a statement that what we love about podcasting is that it reminds all of us to take a moment to really listen. In an introductory trailer, the prince introduces himself as says, "Hi, I'm Harry." He says their podcast will bring forward different perspectives and voices that perhaps you haven't heard before. Markle adds that the podcast will celebrate kindness and compassion. Spotify was launched in Sweden in 2008 and describes itself as the world's most popular audio streaming subscription service. Spotify's Chief Content and Advertising Business Officer, Dawn Ostroff, said in a statement, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex may live in California, but the power of their voices rests in their status as citizens of the world. The company said Harry and Meghan will release a special feature this month featuring stories of hope and compassion from inspirational guests. Their first complete series will be available next year, and the couple said the challenges of 2020 made it particularly important to hear everybody's stories, to be reminded of how interconnected we all are. So many people have been through so much this year, Harry said. As I reported a few weeks ago, Meghan herself had suffered a miscarriage last July, with the couple too having faced their own challenges. But despite these, the couple will host and produce podcasts through Archwell Audio, their recently created company. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Ashley. Could you also please tell us more about what the Prince Harry and Meghan's trailer talked about for their upcoming podcast?
Yes, Giancarlo. Their new trailer, it features the Duke and Duchess of Sussex promoting the deal, with Harry saying that's what this project is all about, to bring forward different perspectives and voices that perhaps you haven't heard before and find our common ground. Meghan later said, we're talking to some amazing people. They're going to share their memories that have really helped shape this past year, which has been, as we know, a difficult one for everyone. Then Prince Harry said, so many people have been through so much pain this year, experiencing loss, a huge amount of uncertainty, but it feels worth acknowledging that 2020 has connected us in ways we could have never imagined, through endless acts of compassion and kindness. Giancarlo?
Thank you again, Ashley, for bringing us that interesting report. We hope to see you again next week.
Thank you for having me again, Giancarlo. I'm Ashley Spiritu, EBC London correspondent, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, it's time for another break now, but please come back for some more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas! A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our help out your chat.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back to more ENI UK and Europe edition. Now we have some more interesting stories from around Europe this week. The French President Emmanuel Macron has tested positive for COVID-19. With us today with an update from Marseille, France, is Febeline Calpo. Hello, Febeline.
Hello, Giancarlo. Yes, French President Emmanuel Macron has tested positive for COVID-19. Some of his symptoms include cough, fever, and fatigue. He is now in isolation but will continue to work and carry out his activities remotely. According to Jérôme Salomon, France Director General of Health, President Macron is an example for all French people. He isolated himself at the slightest symptom. Mr. Solomon added, and I quote, "That is exactly what we say to all French people." He made a test at the slightest doubt. That is what we also want, that tracing is in place. And he is a fervent supporter of the TUS anti-COVID application, a government-sponsored anti-COVID apps EDS. For having had a chance and the honor of attending a few meetings with him, he is extremely attentive to barrier measures. There are hydroalcoholic solutions absolutely everywhere. Distances are maintained. The French president is one of several heads of state and government around the world who have tested positive, including British Minister Boris Johnson and US President Donald Trump. France earlier this week eased restrictions imposed to the battle the second wave of the coronavirus, but infection rates remain high. There is still a nationwide overnight curfew from 8 p.m. to halt the spread of the virus, while restaurants and cafes as well as theaters and cinemas remain closed. As of Thursday, over 59,300 people have died in France since the start of the pandemic, according to official figures. The recording of over 18,000 new cases Thursday alone has also generated concern as people shop and travel more intensely ahead the year-end holidays. Like other EU states, France is pinning its hopes on vaccine to quell the virus, and Prime Minister Jean Castex said Wednesday the country will receive around 1.16 million COVID-19 vaccine doses by year-end. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Febreline. How are the French people there reacting to the announcement that their President Macron has tested positive for COVID-19?
Oh, there are those who wish him well in a quick recovery, and some who say that he could have done better but by not inviting people into the Elysee. Some also highlighted that this shows that the virus is very well there, and that no matter who you are, we should be careful. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you for joining us today, Febreline, and for bringing us that latest update from France.
Yes, thank you for having me. I am Febreline Calto for Marseille, France Bureau, Eagle News, reporting for Eagle News International. We live in interesting times.
Okay, we go to Geneva, Switzerland now for more details on the 37-million-year-old saber-toothed tiger that recently fetched a lot of money at auction. To give us more, we have Meen Glauser. Hello.
Hi, Giancarlo. So many people are curious and interested in the prehistoric period, specifically how life on Earth was, like what kind of plants and animals used to live and how. That's exactly what paleontology studies using fossils as a reference. This love for fossils is actually observed in Geneva, Switzerland. Last December 8th, a 37-million-year-old skeleton fetched at auction between 60,000 Swiss francs, or roughly 67,000 US dollar. To be more precise, it was a skeleton of a Hoplophoneus, more commonly and popularly called as a saber-toothed tiger. It was about 120 centimeters, or 4 feet, long, and was discovered on a US ranch in Dakota around the end of summer 2019 during the last excavation season. A Hoplophoneus is a large predatory extinct mammal, not strictly a true member of the cat family, but has two massive and long curved upper canine teeth. It apparently lived in North America. In the same auction house, there were plenty of other paleontological treasures, such as ammolite, a red-orange opal-like organic gemstone, a Tyrannosaurus rex tooth, and an impressive 85 centimeter long fin from a mosasaur. However, what was unique about this particular fossil is not only its age, but also its integrity. 90% of it was complete, which is very rare, according to Bernard Piget, director of the Piget auction house. The remaining 10% missing bones were remade with a 3D printer to reconstruct the whole skeleton around the black metal frame. The director was then also fascinated by the combination of the extremely old with modern technology in the skeleton. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Min. Does everyone agree, though, about putting such an object on sale, or do some think that it should just be kept for scientific purposes?
Well, actually, Giancarlo, there is more of a debate. Scientists would say yes, because they say that they are a witness to life on Earth. On the other hand, there are people like Jan Kuanin, a collector, who would disagree with that because they say that such objects also have an artistic value. Why? Because even though some fossils like the saber-toothed tiger one is not of major scientific interest as it is already known to science, still some people want to buy or sell them as a decorative object. Jan Kuanin also thinks that acquiring such objects is what brings culture back to life. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you so much for bringing us that interesting story this week.
Thank you for having me, Giancarlo. I am Meghan Glauser reporting from the Geneva, Switzerland Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, we will end today's program, as always, with our view from our window. Today we are looking at Maastricht, which is one of the oldest cities in the Netherlands. It is the capital of the country's southernmost province of Limburg. The city is dubbed as the birthplace for the European Union. It was here in 1992 that the Treaty of Maastricht was signed. This marked a new stage of a closer union among the Europeans, laying the foundation, among others, for the single European currency, which is the euro, and the European citizenship. It lies at the borders of Belgium and Germany, and a cruise along the river is one of the favorite things to do amongst Belgium, Dutch, and Germans. These pictures are courtesy of Milou Francisco from our EBC Netherlands Bureau. Thank you so much for that wonderful view. And that's it for our program this week. We hope you enjoyed, and stay safe, keep positive, as we'll be bringing you more stories next week from around the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Giancarlo Matera, and we live in interesting times.